Welcome to Active Love Adoptions podcast. I am your host, Mackenzie Love. I am personally a birth mom. I placed my son 11 years ago. My stepdad adopted me at the age of 13, and my sister is an adoptive mom. Adoption has always been a part of who I am. I joined the Active Love Adoptions family so that I can help others who find themselves in a similar position as I did, and to share the perspective of all sides of adoption. At Active Love Adoptions, we have been proudly serving birth parents, adoptive parents, and adoptees for over 30 years now. We understand that no two adoption experiences are the same. We started this podcast to share as many stories as we can, in hopes that you, as a unique individual, will be able to relate to at least one of them. Adoption is a beautiful thing. We are not naive enough to think that there is not also pain and trauma that comes along with the journey. Education on adoption is important to us. We want you to feel like family. With all that said, I would like to welcome you to our family here at Active Love Adoptions. I hope that in some small way, these stories will have a positive impact on your journey. Adoption, because family isn't made from blood, it's made from love. Welcome to Active Love Adoptions podcast. I am your host, Mackenzie Love, and today we are here with my dear friend, Megan.
Hi.
And we met, how many years has it been now?
5, 6?
Yeah, something like that.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, it was an eventful night that we met.
Ugly sweater party. I remember that.
So yeah, it was an ugly sweater Christmas party. Mm-hmm. And you and I had a lot of deep conversations that night.
Yeah.
We just jumped right into...
We have a lot in common.
Yes, we do. We have so much in common. And yeah, I think adoption, obviously, was one of the main things that we connected with.
Yes, absolutely. Which, if you know me, that's part of my vibe, I guess.
Yeah, it's part of who you are.
Yeah.
And I appreciated your perspective because as a birth mom, I have my own, idea of adoption and what I personally have gone through. And so it was so interesting to see and hear the other side.
Yeah, my perception, I guess, is slightly different. I mean, I'm a 35-year-old woman. Oh, okay, almost 35. I just aged myself. But yeah, I mean, being an adoptee, it's been an interesting journey with a lot of highs and lows the older I get. So.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Why do you think that is? Why do you think?
Well, so I was born in Decatur, Georgia, back in 1988, as I age myself. And I was raised here in Utah. My parents are white. My mom is British. My dad is from Utah. Yeah. And it was a really interesting kind of dynamic. My sister and I, not my biological sister, but we were adopted at the same time as like twins.
Oh, I did not know that.
Haven't I told you that?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So my adoptive parents brought both of us home at the same time, and we were raised as twins our entire lives. So we're 5 weeks apart. She's older than me. Yeah. And we still to this day, her and I are like...
It's a roller coaster.
At each other's throats nonstop. So that was really interesting. And we would always tell, people, we're not twins. We're not twins. And it's like, but you're in the same grade together. And,
right.
And we would always dress the same.
Yeah.
I knew what birthday presents I was getting because I got whatever she got, which in hindsight was fine. But
right.
So that was really interesting growing up with somebody and trying to explain to people, no, we're sisters, but like biologically we're not related.
Right. Exactly.
And people still don't get that, which is fine. It's fine. I don't explain that anymore.
So what sister is this?
So this is Lorianne.
Okay. So I've never met her.
You've never met her.
Okay.
So I am number 6 of 8 children, all adopted.
Okay.
So
I didn't know that either. I thought there was only 6 of you for some reason, but there's 8.
There's 8.
Okay.
All of us are adopted, and the only ones that are related are my twin brothers who are below me.
Okay.
So that was...
They adopted twins then? Mm-hmm.
So that was like a really interesting dynamic.
Yeah.
And, people... What's crazy, though, is I look like one of the twins, and my sister looks like one of the other twins. So it looks like we're related.
Yeah.
But technically we're not.
Right. See, that would be so interesting growing up with all the different dynamics.
Yes. Dynamics. And I grew up in a multicultural family.
Right.
So my parents are white.
Yeah.
My older brother, who is my best friend in the whole wide world, Mike, he is half white, half Native American, and he's 10 years older than me.
Yeah.
My sister Lisa, and forgive me, I can't remember all the ages of all of us anymore. Fine. I know we're all in our 30s and 40s. Yeah. We're all getting old.
Yeah.
So Lisa is Mexican. My parents picked her up from Mexico. My brother Jordan, and then Jen is my sister. They are Korean.
Yes. I know Jen.
Yep. You've met Jen.
Yeah.
We love Jen.
Yes.
And then the 4 youngest are Black, all adopted from Georgia.
Okay. Awesome. And you guys have no relation to each other?
No relation.
Okay. And did your parents, did they do like a private adoption or did they go through an adoption agency?
So I believe each one was private.
Okay.
I think the ones for my sister, that Lorianne, the same age, and then the twins, Harrison and Thomas, I think they went through a specific agency, but I don't think any of it was through like LDS services. It was all through private adoption.
Okay. Yeah, I'm always just so curious about that. Like, how do they meet these birth moms? How does that all like fall into place? Like, that is so interesting to me.
Well, I think originally they wanted twins when they adopted my sister and I, but the agency didn't have twins.
Okay.
They were like, but hey, we have these 2 babies that are going to be born around the same time.
Right.
You could raise them like twins. And so
they did.
So at 3 months.
Oh my gosh, that's so
we were brought here.
So then they had you 2 and then they actually adopted a set of twins.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And my parents are older. They're in their mid 70s right now. Okay. So that was a really interesting dynamic, having kind of older parents. And
there's just so much that goes into it. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we would love to hear everything. Yeah. Everything you want to say.
So anyway, growing up with older parents was kind of hard. My dad, he's always had gray hair for as long as I can remember. Yeah. And so it kind of looked like he was my grandpa. Yeah. Especially when I would go over to friends' houses and their parents, what I perceived were super young.
Right.
And like still having children. And I'm like, that's kind of not normal. Why are they like looking like babies? They look really, really young to me. And it's hard, just my personal thing. I didn't have a lot of things in common with my parents. They couldn't kind of relate to, teenagers and, my mom, she loved babies.
Yeah.
So, part of why I think they kept adopting is because my mom loved babies. Yeah. And, babies grow up. It's like puppies. They're so cute and needy at like a certain time in life. But I think she forgot that as we got older and became more independent, it was, oh my gosh, I need to have somebody who's depending on me. Not that we didn't depend on her.
Sure.
But
it's different though.
Yeah. And so honestly, I started pretty much raising myself when I was about 10, 11.
Yeah.
Because it was, oh, you're not a baby anymore. You don't.
You can do it.
I'm not like super interested. I'm not super interested in any of this anymore. So that was kind of the struggle a little bit.
Yeah, that would be really hard.
Yeah.
And I think like, that's like right when you start puberty. That's when you really need your parents, is between, the ages of 10 to 14. I feel like, even though we're not very nice. Sorry, Mom. I really was not a nice teenager growing up.
I was mouthy.
Yeah, I was definitely mouthy. My mom and I have a relationship now, but I definitely was not a nice teenager. So yeah, I do know that those years are really important to have someone that you can rely on with all of your mood swings and roller coasters that you go through.
Yeah. So, and I kind of felt like, me personally, all my siblings, we all kind of had the same experience, but some of us view things differently.
Sure.
So that's always been kind of a conflict in my family.
Yes.
You know, because right off the bat, I'll say I'm not close to my adoptive parents. I think I've told you that before.
Yeah.
I'm not very close to them at all.
Yeah.
I really had to put my mental health first.
Yeah.
And, you know, kind of putting them on the back burner was what I needed to do to make it through my own personal life, which, you know, depending on who you talk to and who you look at, it seems selfish.
I wouldn't say that. I think setting boundaries is very healthy.
Yeah.
Whether it's family or friends or anyone, you have to set boundaries.
Yeah.
And that's important because I mean, if you as a mom are able to change that, then your kids don't have to go through the same thing. And by setting those boundaries, you're setting your children up for success.
Right. And that's exactly what I'm doing.
Yeah.
You know, I'm very careful what I say to my children to not make them feel like they weren't ever wanted or, you know, because when you adopt a baby or a child, that's your choice. You're choosing that baby.
Right.
You're choosing that child. And so it's up to you to give that child all of the love that they need and that they quite frankly deserve from maybe a biological child that you would have.
Right.
And me personally, I don't feel like I had that in my life. Crazy things were said, you know, if I was my little mouthy self, you know, my mom would be like, well, I'm going to send you back to Georgia. And it's like, I'm a mom of twins and I can't even fathom saying
saying something like
anything like that to, you know, an 8, 9, 10-year-old.
Right.
Because you get this complex of like,
I'm not worthy.
right.
Yeah.
And like abandonment issues, which I already have.
Right.
And I'm almost 35 and I
laugh,
still
but yes.
have those abandonment issues, you know, and so it's very much, if you are going to pick a child and bring them into your life and raise them as your own, you need to treat them like your own biological child. And I don't know if a lot of people are capable of it. I don't know if I would be capable of it.
Yeah.
Personally, you know, but I can admit that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, in our last podcast with Chelsea, we had her post on social media asking, she's like, just ask me whatever you want to know about adoption.
Yeah.
And she actually got a lot of messages from people saying, how can you love a child that's not biologically yours? Mm-hmm. And her answer was, and like you said.
And did she adopt a child?
She adopted. Yeah. Okay. She's an adoptive mom. And she said, you know, there are friends out there that I love more than my family.
Right.
That are not my blood, and I do love them, and I felt like I could give that love to my child. But the whole point of me saying that is, it's true. If you're going to adopt, you need to make sure that it's not just because you want a child. Mm-hmm. It's not because you're trying to fill a void, but it's because you want to take care of this child and love it like your own. Yeah. And that's very important, I think.
Yeah, and I don't know if my first off, I want to get to say that I am thankful for growing up here in Utah. It was a very interesting experience. I don't know what my life would have been in Georgia. So I am thankful for being raised here, you know, but I think with adoption, I think a lot of people feel like as an adoptee, I should be so thankful and grateful. And why would I say anything negative about being put in a different situation that, you know, could have been different? Adoptive parents should be able to let their kids know, like, where you come from, what your nationality is, different things from the culture. Instead, we have to go through, especially a closed adoption, we have to go through the struggles of like trying to find out like who we are, where we belong, anything remotely about ourselves. And it's very hard and exhausting. And I think one thing I'm known for, especially in my 20s, is like I had teens and 20s, major identity crisis. Because I didn't feel like I fit in anywhere. You know, I would talk on the phone with somebody and then they'd meet me in person and be like, oh my God. really, you know what I mean? It doesn't really match who they were expecting. And so I always felt kind of just out of place.
Right.
Growing up.
Yeah.
I didn't fit in really with white people, and I didn't fit in at all with Black people. And, you know, being a minority in Utah, there's nothing you can really do about that.
No. And I can't even imagine. I can relate to the fact I was adopted by my stepdad.
Right.
And I mean, you follow me on social media. We're friends. You know me. You know how I am. And it was extremely hard for me to be Matt Gillivray. And then all of a sudden, the next day, I'm a Russell. Right. And my old friends don't know who I am. And my new friends only know me by Russell. And then my dad married someone, and her oldest daughter was Mackenzie. And I got to be called MJ, but she got to be Mackenzie. So then all of a sudden, it was like Matt Gillivray, Russell, and then everyone only knew me by MJ.
Right.
For my college
Your
years.
identity is being stripped.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot to process. And I will say, I mean, even though I was like adopted by my stepdad, I wouldn't say that, you know, I think being a parent in general is so hard. I think it's so hard. I think it's so hard.
Yeah, now that I'm a parent, it's
I know.
so hard. Yeah.
And to multiple kids, it's so hard because it's like, yep, I know what I'm doing. Life is great. And then you have another one. You're like, I don't know.
I had twins, I got thrown into. There was no break, have one. You know, this is like a little test drive. No, it was like, good luck. Yeah, you have two. Have fun.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh, okay. Well, this is gonna be fun.
Yeah. No, but really, and I think that's just the hardest part of life. I think because if you don't break that generational trauma of what your parents did before, you're just bringing it right on to your kids. And this is a conversation that Ryan and I have a lot, especially because we did place our first son for adoption. You know, sometimes there's guilt that's associated with that, especially because we have 4 biological kids. Right. And so I think like in every, I mean, whether you're an adoptee, an adoptive mom, or a birth mom, we all have these issues that we are trying to overcome, and we're trying to find our identity. I mean, you know, as an adoptive mom, I'm sure she was trying to find her identity and trying to figure out how, right? There's a reason she only wanted babies, right? Like she wasn't, I don't think she, I mean, I'm speculating, but maybe she just wasn't emotionally ready to handle older children because of her old trauma. You know what I mean?
Exactly. There were things she didn't, I mean, I don't know. I mean, there are 8 siblings, 8 children that, you know, some of us are really thriving. Yeah. Some of us are dealing with our trauma in different ways. Yeah. Some of us have masked our trauma. Yeah. And it's, you know, it's difficult.
It is. Well, especially when it's your siblings that,
and I love them. And
yeah, you do. And in fact, this is so funny. I was talking to my mom about this yesterday on the phone. My sister and I, we grew up in the exact same house. We're only a year and a half, 2 years apart, somewhere around there. And we both went through the divorce. We both got our name changed. We both had a stepdad. We both went through the same things. Yeah. And we could not be more opposite in the way we handled things, in the way we still deal with things, the way we parent our kids. We're complete opposite. So I truly do believe that you come here with your own personality.
Absolutely.
And I think it's harder when you are adopted, especially in a closed adoption, and you don't have your birth parents and you don't have that information, your medical background. You don't know where you came from. You don't know, you know, certain things about your birth parents. That right there would mentally be really hard to navigate who you are as a person, because that's, you know, that's nature versus nurture, right? Like, who knows? No one really knows. But I do feel like they both play an important part.
They really do. Because if you look at the 4 youngest, so me, Lorianne, and the twins, Harrison and Thomas. Yeah. We were all raised in the same household, same era, by the same parents, same opportunities. And honestly, we could not be more different. Right. I mean, it's kind of incredible how different we all are. Yeah. But to the point that we almost can't get along.
Yeah. Which is so hard. Yeah.
Yeah. And you think like, oh, you're in your 30s, you let things slide. No, because you're still the person that you are.
Yeah.
You know, I love them, but those three are pretty close to my adoptive parents.
Right.
Where I choose not to be.
Yeah.
You know, and so, and like when you bring up not knowing anything about yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, that has probably been the hardest thing that I've ever really dealt with, even now. I mean, when I was a child, when I was pregnant with my twins, you know, when I was going through health stuff in my mid-20s that I don't really think any woman should be going through.
Right.
But the only thing, I don't know, well, you have an open adoption, but I think one thing that a lot of people don't realize in closed adoptions is you get what's called non-identifying information.
Right.
And it's supposed to be from the birth mom's point of view and then the birth father's point of view. And it says different things about their lives. And so, I mean, fine, hire a private detective and I'm sure they could put two and two together, but that's super expensive.
Right, exactly.
And so I remember the first time reading that, it was, I think I was probably 14 or 15, maybe.
Yeah.
And that was really interesting to read because it describes my birth mother and I'm literally a spitting image of her. I mean, it says that she is short, that she has dark hair, dark eyes, she has a gap. I mean, it's surreal. So growing up, any Black woman I saw, I'm like,
are you my mom?
Are you my mom? Yeah. Are you my mom?
That'd be really hard.
Yeah, it was really hard. And I didn't really even think about my birth father because it's like, that's not who I was really looking for.
Right.
There's a part of me as an adult that I find it kind of unnatural a little bit to be this complete mystery.
Yeah.
And, you know, I go to doctor's appointments and they're like, history about your birth mother. I'm like,
I don't know. Yeah.
You know,
that would be extremely hard.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine.
Yeah. It's hard. And then the process of looking for them.
Yeah.
Everybody has different views about it.
Yes.
And in my family, only one out of all 8 children, only one has had any desire, and that's my sister Jen.
Yeah.
And she has found a lot of her family, and it has been incredible listening to her journey, but it's hard because a lot of our siblings don't understand it. They're like, why do you care?
Yeah.
You know,
so that's really interesting that you say that, because after starting this podcast, I've had so many friends come to me and say, did you know I was adopted? And I'd be like, I had no idea, 0 idea. And I've had some really good conversations. I'm the kind of person that, I'm a birth mom, but don't look at me like I'm a birth mom. I want to hear your honest, true perspective.
Right.
I really do. And it was crazy to me that like 3 out of the 8 people I talked to had no desire to even find their birth parents. They were completely fine with not knowing. And I think that's different for everyone, right? And just like everyone's adoption experience is different. But for you and me, that's kind of odd, right? Like that would be, I can't imagine not knowing where I came from. But maybe it's because I know where I came from, right? Like maybe that's just because that's the way I was raised. And and it, you know, I will say it's really funny getting together with my dad's side of the family that I grew up with. I'm the oldest grandchild, and so I've always kept contact with my grandparents.
Yeah.
But when I recently got together with my dad and his family, and it just like clicked, I'm like, oh my gosh, I thought I was so much like my mom's family. No, I am just like my dad's family. Yeah. It's so crazy. And it's funny because I didn't realize how much I had missed out on until I did hang out with them and have like deep conversations about everything with them. And it's really funny because this is like totally random, but my mom's side of the family is like very outgoing. They talk about everything, super honest with each other. We don't hold anything back. My dad's side of the family is more just like quiet, keep to themselves, private, like, you know, and it's just so funny seeing both sides because I can totally be both sides.
Right.
And so to me, I think that's why I would want to know my biological family. But at the same time, if I didn't have that experience, I don't know if I would really care because my stepdad, he's been a dad to me since I was 11.
Yeah.
And his family, I feel like I get along with them so well too.
Very open. I'm pretty raw about things that I say.
Yeah.
But I'm nothing like my adoptive parents.
Right.
I would see some negative parts coming out and I was like, nope, I'm changing that narrative. I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
I'm not. I will be, can I say damned?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll be damned if my kids decide to never talk to me. That's not what I want in life. That's absolutely not okay with me. So I've really changed that kind of narrative on, you know, how you talk. But I think I've told you, so I've been searching for my biological parents.
I know. I'm so excited to
For
hear that.
such a long time.
Yeah.
And so when I was 19, I was moving out of my house and my parents and I weren't getting along and I went snooping and I really for some for pictures, baby pictures,
no,
family
there's nothing
pictures.
wrong with it.
And
I'm just laughing because that's something I would do.
Yeah,
So,
because you know, I do that now. But I came across this folder and this manila envelope, and it was like confidential. And it looked kind of old.
Yeah.
And I opened it, and inside was this paper, and it had my biological father's name, my biological mother's name, the lawyer's name, my adoptive or my birth name. And I remember thinking, I don't think I'm supposed to have this.
Yeah.
Because closed adoption, you get nothing. You get non-identifying information and that's it. And I asked my mom about it and she was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And I was like, I think you do, but okay. You know, and I was trying to get more answers out of her. And me being 19 and thinking, okay, well, I can just like put it on my dresser, go take some stuff to my new apartment, come back, and it was gone. Oh, no. That paper was gone. I never saw it again. I asked my parents about it and they were like, we have no idea what you're talking about. But I remembered the names.
Yeah.
And so for years, I went off of what these names were, you know, and I want to say back in, I don't even know. It's been such a long time. I did Ancestry.com.
Yeah.
And it had to have been my mid-20s, maybe mid-20s. And I did Ancestry.com. And it's amazing what that connects you to.
Oh, yeah.
And so, of course, Facebook was like the big thing. And so I was like Facebooking people. And, you know, it's quite... I don't want to keep saying interesting, but a lot of people, especially family, a lot of them don't really want to talk to you. They don't want to know, you know, that happened.
Right.
Because it's like, oh, no, never.
No,
So,
never happened.
Yeah. And so about 6 years ago, maybe 7, I found this person who I thought was my birth father. The name, everything. Unfortunately, I had to talk to his current wife. Yeah. And he had a stroke a year and a half earlier. Oh, so his memory, his long-term memory was gone. No. So he didn't, you know, and I asked her, I'm like, can I ask you questions? And no.
Oh, no.
Right. You know, so that I think was really hard for me. And it really kind of took me into this downward spiral. Yeah, and I reached out to this woman who I thought was my birth sister and his daughter, and she didn't want anything to do with me. So that kind of took me into this spiral of like hardcore abandonment issues, you know, and he didn't know me. And so I couldn't find anything out about him. Yeah. So I would go on probably like a year on looking, and then it's very mentally exhausting.
Yeah, I can
like
imagine.
It really can mess with your mental state of like, you know, I started doing this to get health information, but now in my 30s, it's all about, I just want to know.
Right.
I just want to know.
Yeah.
You know, screw the health information.
Yeah,
like I'm used to that now, but like, I just want to know.
Yeah.
And sure, I could have paid the adoption agency money to find, my birth parents, but that wasn't a guarantee.
Right.
You send a letter, they track them down, they send a letter, and they can easily say, no, we don't want to meet her. But I think I'm going to have to probably do that with my birth mother because I cannot find her. So that was really difficult, was to know that I would probably never talk to this man who I thought was my birth father. So I kind of let it go for a couple of years. And, I would do like my due diligence. I would go on to Ancestry and look at my matches and then, go on Facebook and, stalk people.
If it were me, I would just be like on there every day, like refreshing.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
Yeah. And then fast forward all these years, last year, I decided like, okay, I'm in a really good headspace. I'm feeling really good about where I am in life. Yeah. I decided to dig a little bit deeper. So I messaged this woman and she lives in Atlanta. Yeah. And I said, I told her about myself and I said, I'm looking for my birth mother. Is this, do you have anybody that maybe fits this description? Yeah. And she wrote back and she goes, I'm going to have you talk to my sister. So I was like, okay. And these women are in their 60s. Okay. These little Southern, little Black ladies from favorite. Georgia.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. So the sister reaches out to me and, I tell her my story. I send the non-identifying information to her. And keep in mind, everything I'm telling you now has happened from November going on.
Oh my gosh.
So this is like
very recent.
Fresh.
Yes.
Like, okay. Incredibly fresh. So she writes back and she says, hey, Megan, no disrespect, but are you sure this man that you think is your father is your biological father? And I said, based on everything I know, like that's all I know. Like that's the only name that's been in my head and this and that. And she goes, I only say this because my brother, who he actually died back in May, right before he died, said, I have a daughter that the family didn't know about.
Oh my gosh.
And I know that she is going to be reaching out to me. And when she does, she is family. And I need you guys to be there and to and take care of her. Mm. And I was like, that's, really odd. And so she starts sending me all these pictures. And she's like, you look just like him. You have the family gap that my daddy had. Mm-hmm. And you got the big old forehead that all of us have. And
do not.
I kind of do though.
You don't.
But I know, and she was just like, everything about you screams my brother.
Yeah.
And for a little while, in my mind, I'm like, no. Yeah. Like, this is the guy that I think is my birth father.
Right.
So I kind of put that family on hold, and the sister of the man who I thought was my birth father reached out to me because I messaged her on Facebook. Mm-hmm. Sent her the non-identifying information, and I was crushed because she was like, I find everything that is in here to be false. My brother went to college, he did, and it almost kind of made me feel like she didn't want to really accept it.
Yeah.
But that's not for me to question.
Yeah.
I'm not here to disrupt anybody's life. So that was really, really difficult for me. And then on the flip side, I have this family that it was like, you will call me Aunt Titi, and they were so warm and welcoming, and it was really odd for me. And I actually they called me, and it was literally like talking to myself, but I was like 30 years older and had a Southern accent. Like the personality.
Sorry, I'm like trying not to cry. Right
I know. Now. It was, the personality was really, it was like talking to myself, but it took me, and it's still taking me time to maybe be like, you know what? To get past what I've had in my brain since I was 19.
Right.
And they, so I had to tell them like, I'm feeling really overwhelmed because I have these aunts reaching out to me that like want to be my friend and want to get to know me, and my kids, and his son is like, I'm ready to take a DNA test because obviously I'm related to them.
Yeah.
But my fear is I'm going to break their heart by not being the biological daughter of their late brother. That's what scares me in this process.
Sure, I can totally understand that. But I think also, like you said, your blood to them somehow, right? You have to be.
Yeah, that's how I found them. It was like a first cousin.
Yeah.
You know?
So you're related to them somehow. They're going to love you regardless.
Yeah.
I hope you know that. Especially with how they've been, right?
Yeah. They have been amazing because I had to really say, you know, I need to take a step back. Like, I'm feeling very overwhelmed.
Yep.
And
just totally understandable.
I shut down. When I am not feeling okay, when I'm feeling overwhelmed, when I don't know what to say, I feel shut down because my fear is I'm going to let them down and then they're going to abandon me. And then it's like, you know, but that's, you know, but these two little old ladies are like, nope, you can take all the time you need, but we are not letting you out of our lives. We, you know, they text me every day. Yeah. It's like this family that I never had, but I'm almost uncomfortable about it.
Right. Well, and that's
which is weird to say.
Well, no. I'm just saying.
I don't know if people understand that, but it's weird.
I totally understand that. Because I think when you grow up with all this chaos and all of a sudden there's no chaos and there's just people willing to love you no matter what, it's overwhelming. You're like, wait, I don't have to earn this. I don't have to work hard for, like, you're just going to love me? Like, you're just going to accept me? And I totally
cry.
No, don't worry. I'm already teary-eyed. You can say I've been teary-eyed this whole time because I know that feeling.
Yeah.
I know it. And I mean, that breaks my heart that you feel like that because it's not. Yeah.
But that's what happens as a child when you are not loved like you think you should be loved, you know? And so with my own boys, I've told you this before, they're the only blood relatives I've ever met. And so
I love
it's
them.
I love them too.
Yeah, so
and so it's super important for me to always have that relationship with them because if they're ever out of my life like that at that time in my mind, I'm like, that's it.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I can't even imagine.
And so now I have all of these people that are like, we are going to plan a family get together and you are coming down to Georgia.
Okay, I'm going with you because
I need somebody to go with me.
I really will because I miss the South so much. Yeah.
They're so, I don't know if people really know this about the South. I didn't really know this, but they are so, the people down there, and I've just been on the phone with them, so warm, so welcoming. I mean, they don't even know quite yet. I think in their mind, they think they know how we're related, but you know, I'm still at that, like keeping my little wall up.
Yeah, I got to figure this out.
They've been so warm and welcoming and they are already like, you know, when one of my cousins, she's like, hey cuz, how's it going? And for me, that's weird because I was not close to my cousins.
Right.
I didn't have any of that in my life. And so now to have these people that are really wanting to get to know me for me because they see me and they're like, you know, she actually would, TT, we'll call her TT.
Yes.
She actually would send people a photo of me and they'd be like, is that so-and-so's daughter? Like, I mean, and I look like one of my other cousins. I mean, so I'm still in that process of trying to open my mind and see what they see.
Yeah.
Because I've been so, like, I look at my kids and I'm like, I don't know, are we related? Because we don't, you see my boys, you know.
I'm married to Ryan.
Yeah.
You know, he's Hispanic and all my kids are dark eyes.
Yes. And Jackson and Carter are very like, you know, their dad's blonde hair, blue eyes. Yeah. But they have very strong features of their dad's side.
Yes, they do.
Except, you know, they have the dark hair and the dark eyes, but they're not super dark.
Yeah, I still think they look like you, though. I really do.
Well, I think a lot of people think they look like me.
Yeah, they do.
You know, and so, so that's kind of where, you know, I am with my search. And it's funny because my cousin keeps texting me and she actually was adopted and found them about 4 years ago. So like if there's anybody that I should be leaning on, it really is her.
Yeah.
And I've kind of been MIA because I'm just like, I don't want to break anybody's heart. And like, you know, and she's like, you are family now. Like today, before I got ready, you know, I was on my way and she's like, we are family now. You don't go silent on me, girl. She's like, don't make me come down to Utah. And she's like, I will knock on every door. Oh. You know, and same with like my two aunties. They're like, you will call us Auntie and Titi.
Yeah.
And if you don't respond, we will fly down to Utah. We don't know where you live, but we will fly down to Utah and we will knock on doors until we find you to make sure you're okay. Yeah. And not having that in my life is crazy. And they always ask how my twins are, or they always, how are our great nephews, you know? And it's like, I'm not even a stranger to them. I'm their niece. It's always like, good morning, niece. How are you? I love you. You know, it's mind-boggling to me because I am not used to that. I get very uncomfortable with that. And that's kind of sad.
Yeah. No, I can relate to that.
I'm not open to love.
Yeah.
And I feel like I should be, but it's difficult.
100%. I think, honestly, it took me like marrying Ryan and then like 5-6 years into our relationship for me to finally feel loved and comfortable with who I am as a person. Because you have this idea in your head, which I've been trying so hard to work through. Like that's something that especially these past 2 years, that's kind of why I took this job, because I'm like, I think I'm okay with my adoption process and everything I've gone through. But honestly, just doing these podcasts have brought up so many emotions that I was not prepared for. Yeah. That came out of nowhere
and you
for
can't
no
talk
reason.
to everybody about it.
No, because not everyone understands.
Not everybody understands.
Well, and I feel like as a birth mom, they're kind of like, hey, you gave away your child. Like,
see, and I don't ever view birth moms like that. Like, I never
and there are people like that too.
Yeah, I've never viewed my birth mother as like, I mean, yes, do I have abandonment issues? Yes, but I don't think it stems necessarily from my birth mother. I think it stems from the people that were supposed to raise me and love me as their own child. Yeah. And I didn't get that.
No, I get that. Yeah.
But, you know, I never look at somebody and be like, well, you gave up your kids, so there's that.
Well, thank you.
You know, I've never
that's my coping mechanism, if you can't tell.
Yeah, no, I've never viewed you like that. The first time I ever heard your story, I was like, I wish I could have known. Like, I wish it could be open adoption for me. Yeah. You know, because now your son, he doesn't have to go through that struggle of trying to figure out who he is, who his parents are, where he comes from. Yeah. You know, he knows that you love him, that Ryan loves him. He's like completely loved. And that's how adoption, in my opinion, should be. So I'm on this great journey. I'm excited of where I am. I think adoption is beautiful. Everybody has their own story to tell, though. And hopefully I will obviously keep you updated on
please
what is going on
I know.
This craziness of this new.
And I'm glad you saved it for our podcast to tell me, because I was like,
I know you wanted to know so bad.
I did. I've been begging you to tell me. So I'm glad that you waited till now, because wow, that's like, I'm excited for you. And I hope that, you know, you can find some healing in all of this.
And this podcast is honestly what I needed at this time. I'm in such a great place in my life. You know what I've gone through the last couple of years. It's been tough.
It has.
And so it's so like refreshing to talk about this in a way that with somebody that understands. Yeah. Maybe not exactly, but understands. So I'm kind of excited to keep letting everybody know what's going on.
We might have to have you back on here.
Obviously.
Yeah. You can update us later.
We'll see.
Okay. Well, thanks, Megan.
Thanks for having me.
No, it means so much to me, and I truly love you, and I appreciate you sharing your life with us.
Yeah, I love you too, and I'm glad you're in my life. So thanks for having me.
Of course.
Thanks for joining us today. We hope you've gained new insights and perspectives on the topic of adoption. Remember, adoption is a journey that's unique to each individual and family. It's also a journey filled with love, hope, and new beginnings. If you or someone you know is considering adoption, or if you are pregnant and wanting to look into placing your child, please visit activeloveadoptions.com for more information. Until next time, keep spreading love and creating families one story at a time.